everybody, my name is Xuul and welcome to another video. In today's episode we are going to be talking about Enderal once again. Yes, that total conversion mod that has been taking the Skyrim modding community by storm. It's time for us to do another tutorial on it. This one is going to be involving everybody's favorite modding tool for Skyrim, MOD Organizer. And not only am I going to show you how to get Enderal working with MOD Organizer, but I would also like to cover how you can easily switch between both your modded Skyrim playthrough and your Enderal playthrough. Because if you're anything like me, you've already had a Skyrim playthrough going for a little while now, but then Enderal came out, so you're like, oh, maybe I want to play that, but I also want to keep playing Skyrim. So I'm making it so you don't have to make that choice. You can just switch basically at the click of a couple buttons. Shouldn't be too difficult, so without further ado, let's get started. And this tutorial is going to begin in our Steam folder. This can be found in generally C, User, Steam, Steam Apps, Common. Scroll down in that folder till you find your Skyrim folder. Now inside your Skyrim folder, you need to make sure it's basically at a vanilla state. If you're using MOD Organizer, it pretty much should be. The only thing that'll be in here is SKSE, which is totally fine, and perhaps an ENB. Now if you're using an ENB, I'd recommend uninstalling it before you do this because it can cause problems. Once you've checked to make sure everything in here looks vanilla, you have your default Skyrim things and all that kind of fun stuff, open up Steam, and then select the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Right-click on the game, go to Properties, and just verify the integrity of the game cache. This will just make sure that all your files in Skyrim are, for sure, completely vanilla and all that fun stuff. I will cut ahead in the video to when the verification of the Steam files for me has been completed. Alternatively, you could just install Skyrim fresh, but most people have Skyrim installed if they're watching this video, so that's why we're doing it this way. Once any files are able to be revalidated, you can click OK, and then everything should be fine. I would also highly recommend that you launch Skyrim at least once, because that is going to be necessary. Okay, the next step is going to be to head over to your Steam Apps Common folder and locate your Skyrim folder. You'll see it right here. And we've already confirmed that it is a vanilla folder, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new folder inside Steam Apps Common. We're going to call it Skyrim_copy. And if we open up this Skyrim_copy folder, it will obviously be empty because we just made it. Then if we open up our Skyrim folder, Steam Apps Common Skyrim, we're going to be moving a couple of things from one folder to another. I'm going to click on the data folder and click Ctrl-A to select everything in this folder. I'm then going to deselect MOD Organizer because I don't need that, and I'm going to deselect this enderal.zip that I don't know why it's there, but I digress. Once we have selected everything other than MOD Organizer, because you really don't need a copy of MOD Organizer, drag it over here. You want to copy it. You can do that by either dragging it or hitting the copy button and pasting it. This will create a duplicate version of your Skyrim, and I'll get to why we're doing that later, but for now, just trust me on that. Just wait for the copying to be complete. Until then, I'll cut the video. Head over to enderal.com and we can begin downloading and installing the mod just like we normally would. So system requirements, everything's good there. Installation package. From here, we're going to go over to the Nexus mods page. I would actually highly recommend torrenting. Apparently it is much quicker to do that way. But if you are, not really trusting of torrents or whatever, it's totally fine to come over here, download the main file here for Enderal. After you've done that, open up the launcher page, right-click on this, open it in a new tab, and it will begin to download the Enderal launcher. It'll ask if you want to keep it, just go ahead and hit the keep button, and then that's pretty much all we need from this page. So we can just move it out of the way. And the Enderal Installer, the thing you got off the Nexus, is going to give you a .gz file. You're going to want to drag that to your desktop as well as the Enderal launcher itself. Both of these should be in the same place on your desktop. Now, at the moment, we're still currently waiting for this to happen. It's going rather slowly for me for some reason, so I will cut ahead to when the duplicating of our Skyrim folder has finished. Alright, so after a fairly excessive amount of time, you should have two Skyrim folders that are exactly the same, and they're both vanilla. So they don't have ENBs or anything like that, and they're pretty much as close to vanilla as they possibly can be. Once you've done that, we need to go ahead and install Enderal. We downloaded the files already, so what you need to do is select the Enderal launcher, go like this. It'll tell you it's not in the root directory. It also might give you a little message saying that it's not trusted. Don't worry about that. Just click more info and then OK, and you'll be presented with the Enderal launcher. Just like in my previous video, we're going to install it, although this time I'm going to be going quite a bit quicker. Check this off. Make sure that the launcher was originally in the same location as this file. If not, hit the three dots and then head on over to your desktop and find that Enderal file. Once you've found it, you'll get the check mark there, hit next. Lastly, if you want to back up, not necessary, go ahead and start the installation. This is going to take a long time again, so once again, we're going to cut to when it's done. And the installation is almost done, so what we're going to do is close the installation, go to update, and there will be updates, so we'll just go ahead and begin downloading those. These will be much quicker, but I'm still going to cut ahead to when it's done. You know the drill. Okay, after a while, it'll tell you that the application needs to be restarted. Go ahead and do so. Close it. You'll have a launcher right here, so you can go ahead and start it. And now what we're going to do is do all of our settings. These settings need to be all configured at this stage in the guide, since we're not really going to be coming back to this launcher all too often. I'm going to do a couple things that I tend to do just because they help with the performance while recording, one of which is disable window mode. Windowed mode actually improves performance for most people, but it causes issues for my recording of the cutscenes, so I turn that off. So you can configure this however you need to be, and whenever you have finished doing that, just go ahead and hit Save Settings. And actually, what I would actually recommend doing is just going in and launching Enderal at least once just to make sure everything is working. And then what we're actually going to do is quit completely out of this launcher. Okay, so once Enderal has been completely installed and you've managed all your settings using the launcher, I recommend you go ahead, start up the game, and start a new game just to quickly test it out and then immediately quit out of it. And this is just to make sure that everything's working before you proceed with all the next steps, because they are going to be a little bit of work. I've done all that off camera, so don't worry about it. We're going to go ahead and find our Skyrim folder in Steam Apps Common. This is the folder where Enderal is installed. You can tell by going to your data folder and you'll see ENN files. You're going to select this version of Skyrim, hit F2 or right click and rename, and change it to something a little bit more memorable. In my case, I'm going to rename it Skyrim_Enderal. Hit enter and you'll change that name. Then this Skyrim copy that we have right here, we are going to go ahead and rename it to Skyrim. So now we have two versions of Skyrim. We have this one, and we have our Skyrim Enderal. And in this case, my Skyrim Enderal happens to contain my mod organizer because it's my original version of the game. So what I'm going to do is cut it and paste it inside my vanilla Skyrim folder. And you could have easily kind of avoided doing that, although it doesn't take too long to move, by simply renaming your original Skyrim to something like Skyrim_backup and then renaming your Skyrim Enderal to Skyrim and installing it that way, but it doesn't really matter. Either way, basically our goal is to have a Skyrim folder, which is our vanilla Skyrim with mod organizer, so that when we go ahead and launch mod organizer, we'll have everything like our Dongor DLC and our high-res texture packs and all these other fun things that we need to run our mods. And we will also, excuse me for closing that, have a second Skyrim folder that's called Skyrim Enderal. This one won't have mod organizer in it right now, and you'll be able to go ahead and launch it only if you use the SKSE loader. If you attempt to use the Enderal launcher, it's going to actually go ahead and grab this and give you an error. So now that we have gone ahead and created both an original version of Skyrim and an Enderal Skyrim, we're going to need to download Mod Organizer for our Enderal version of Skyrim. Head over to the Mod Organizer page. We are going to go ahead and use the manual version in this case. Download this file manually. It may take a little while, but that's fine. And then drag the file you downloaded to your desktop. I'll cut ahead to when that's done. After a little while, your mod organizer file will be downloaded. What you need to do is open this or extract it, either way works. But essentially what you're going to do is extract that folder inside your Skyrim Enderal folder. And remember, we are using the manual version of this, so we'll go ahead and extract that. It'll only take a few moments. There we are. And then if we open it up, we can launch Mod Organizer, and it'll take a few moments here, generate all the necessary stuff. And this is not a tutorial for Mod Organizer because that would be ridiculous. But if you'd like to see more about that, I'll throw a link in the description to something a bit more prevalent. As you can see, this version of Mod Organizer is a little bit different. It features the ENN files, and it does not have any of the DLC. Now, this is very important. Whereas if we launch our Skyrim Mod Organizer, we'll see we got Dawnguard and Hearthfire and all that kind of stuff. So what I like to do with Mod Organizer, as you can probably tell right here, is send a shortcut to our desktop. So what I'm going to do is I am going to send this to the desktop, create a shortcut, and then I'm going to rename it Enderal MO. And then I'm going to go to Properties, again something I like to do, and change the icon. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and find the Enderal icon, which should be located in Skyrim Enderal somewhere. That one will work. Perfect. And then I'll make it a space up here right next to Skyrim. There we go. So as you can see, I now have an Enderal Mod Organizer shortcut to launch. And from now on, whenever we'd like to launch Enderal, we're going to have to do so via SKSE. Enderal as a mod is a total complete overhaul, which means that it is going to require you to use different saves. Now, assuming that your INI files are all correct, what I would like you to do now is go to Profile, hit Manage, and we're going to either copy, rename, or create a new profile. In my case, we're just going to rename this one because the INI is correct, and I'm going to call it Enderal. From here, we need to check off a couple of things. We need to create local save games and archive invalidation, although I'm not 100% sure if that's necessary. And then we are going to close. And then if we go to Manage again, we'll notice local save games and automatic archive invalidation. If we go to Saves, there'll be no saves there, downloads, nothing there, and in our archives, everything is checked off. If for whatever reason something isn't checked off, make sure all this stuff is checked off. It is absolutely essential. Alright, now I need to talk about something that I probably should have mentioned earlier in this video, but it is very important, and that is the INI files. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right now by launching Enderal Mod Organizer. This is something that I neglected to mention earlier. If you go to the little puzzle pieces right here and go to the INI editor and scroll down, you'll notice an S resource archive list. This archive list lists some EEN files. These are necessary for Enderal. And your archives here might not say it. If they do, that's good. You have the correct Enderal INI files. However, in your Skyrim Mod Organizer, this might not be the case. You might just have the vanilla Skyrim Mod Organizer things there. And the way to check is pretty simple. Again, go to the puzzle pieces, go to the INI editor. You'll notice that this one doesn't have those ENN files. So this is the correct way you want to do it. And if yours looks like this with Skyrim not having the ENN files and Enderal having it, you're good to go. You don't really need to do this next step. However, some people throughout this crazy installation process may have run into a problem, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. If for whatever reason your INI files are missing, the first thing we're going to actually do is open up a new folder. We're going to go to our Documents, Games, Skyrim, and in here you'll have Skyrim and Skyrim's prefs INI. Now if you've done any INI tweaks or anything like that to your vanilla Skyrim, you might want to make a note of those, because the easiest way to fix this problem is going to be, first of all, to delete these INI files, which I'll do right here. Then we're going to go to Steam and we're going to hit play. This will regenerate those files. It'll only take a few moments here. As you can see, it's going to detect our video options, all good, and then we can exit out of the launcher. We go here, we will have vanilla Skyrim INI files. We're going to select both of these. We are going to copy them and then we are going to open up our Skyrim mod organizer. This is not the Enderal one, this is the vanilla Skyrim one. Then all you need to do is go inside your profiles folder, and inside any of your profiles you'll have these ini files. So I'm just gonna paste them into my default one right here, and you can paste them into any other files. And then once you've done that, you will have the correct ini files. If you need to find the Enderal ini files, it's a slight amount more work. To do this, go to Steam Apps Common. Select the Skyrim folder and rename it. I'm going to call it Skyrim _. Then I'm going to rename the Skyrim folder to just Skyrim. So now our Enderal Skyrim is the default Skyrim game. From here, you will be able to launch the Enderal launcher again, and it will not encounter any problems. Once you've launched the launcher, maybe tweaked your ini files a little bit and saved, go back into Documents, My Games, Skyrim. This is where you grabbed the ini files from before. Scroll down and check the archive list. Now in this case, we have the Skyrim, and we have those ENN files again. Now that we've done that, and again, if you are paranoid, you can always delete these files, launch the Enderal launcher, go to Settings, maybe just tweak one thing just to make sure that everything's working. I'll change that to ×2, hit save, close. It'll regenerate the ini files for you, and they will be the correct ones with the ENN things in them this time. Select both of those, copy in this case. Then you're going to go to your Skyrim Enderal mod organizer, go to Profiles, Enderal, and you're going to paste those there. Now that we have got our ini files correctly, we just need to switch these names back around in Steam Apps Common. So the one that we have selected right now is Enderal, so it needs to be named this, and Skyrim _ needs to return to its original name. And that is how you correctly get the ini files if there was any errors in the ini files. With that being done, we can now get over to the process of installing mods for Enderal. Now, one thing I would like to warn you about is that we are not going to be using the download with manager function, as that will bring things over to our Skyrim mod organizer. We don't want that, so we're going to be downloading all of our files manually, adding them to mod organizer, and then activating them. You can even throw them inside the downloads folder and activate them just like they would be normally, but it's not really important. But we need to ask the question, where do we get mods? And to answer that, I'm going to bring up a couple of threads. They'll be both linked in the description. This is a Sure AI thread here. This is originally in German. I'm just using Google Translate, but it does cover a lot of mods. So you can see better dialogue controls. All sorts of stuff like this are discussed, and you can look here to see what mods are compatible with Enderal. You can also go over to the Nexus page, which has a file section for Enderal here. You can see Enderal for 60 FPS thing here. And these are all mods that have been specifically made for Enderal. I've also done some testing and found that iHUD is a very easy to install mod that works with Enderal, so we're going to use that as our demo installation mod. I'll throw this linked down below in the description. And if you go to the file section, you could download this with Manager, but that's not what we're going to be doing because that'll cause problems. So download iHUD manually. As you can see, it requires SKSE. So I've downloaded iHUD, I have it here on my desktop, and what I like to do when I download a mod manually with Mod Organizer is I like to go into my Skyrim Enderal Mod Organizer Downloads folder and drop the mod into there. And I do this just so I can activate it in the typical way. This is not the best or only way to do it, but you can do it. For that, we're going to click through all this, hit manual, everything looks good. Boom, mod's been installed. We can check it off. Now, I suppose there's one last thing that I didn't really cover, and that's updating Enderal, because as you know, there has been updates kind of coming out for this mod pack, and I'm sure you'd like to update Enderal at one point. Well, the update process isn't that complicated. What you need to do is come into your Steam Apps Common folder. You'll have your Skyrim right here. Hit F2 on that and rename it to Skyrim _. Then rename your Skyrim Enderal to just Skyrim. Once it's been renamed to Skyrim, you can once again use the launcher, click Update, download the update, and then flip it back. It's a little bit inconvenient, but it's what you have to do. once the updating is done, make sure that you rename your folders back to their appropriate names. So you want the Skyrim folder that you have now to return to the name Skyrim Enderal, and you want the Skyrim _ folder to return to the name Skyrim. The next and final step, now that we have the mod installed, we have the ini files correct, we have 2 versions of Mod Organizer, and all our folders have been put back to normal, is to go ahead and run Enderal once again, making sure we use SKSE to run it. Alright, so as we can see, I've loaded up Enderal, and MCM has activated as well. If we go ahead and hit escape, go to mod configuration, we will see Immersive HUD is here, and it works perfectly fine. So you now know how to install mods for Enderal using Mod Organizer, although you have to take special care as to which mods you install, and you also have the ability to easily switch between them with the dual installation method featured in my video. Now, I'm going to admit, this took me far too long to figure out. I started working on this video, I think 3 days ago, pretty much the eve after I finished my first Enderal tutorial. And basically through a whole whack of trial, error, and experimentation, I finally figured out a way to get everything working. And then of course the first time I recorded it, I had my mic muted for a huge portion of it. Then I had a bunch of video corruption. Either way, this video's been a nightmare, so I hope you appreciate the work that I put forth into this. Expect to see more from me in the future regarding Enderal, regarding Skyrim mods, and all of your other favorite modded games. Until next time, I've been Xuul, and I hope that you have an excellent day.